Check one, check, check, and check. Welcome to the party, welcome to the party, welcome to the party. All right. Okay, folks, welcome to Dan. This is the Hysteria behind the scenes, the making of Hysteria. Back there. Oh my God, how did you do it? Why did you do it? That's a bigger question. Why do we do the things that we do? Well, first of all, I almost want to say thanks to everybody who watched this beast. It's really not. It's actually a really quick edit. I mean, it's you get 4 minutes, but you really are using 2, and in those 2 minutes, you're trying to figure out some sort of mental bridge and concepts to tell a story, and then at the same time, you just want to get out of the edit. You want to run. You know what I mean? You ever notice that? Now, so a little bit on me, and this is a whole nother video, but I used to edit video back in the 90s. I worked in Japanese animation, and of course before that I worked in broadcast video for a little bit, selling video nonlinear editing systems, and I was a big toaster guy. I came from the Amiga days and things like, I don't know, demos and games, and making video with the video toaster was like a crazy era. In many ways, the video toaster was the runway of its time. It broke down a lot of barriers and let people do things that they just could not ever do before. Back those days, it cost you 600, 750 grand to get into video. Yeah, that's what it cost. It cost you almost $1 million to really get into video. An Avid Media Composer system would set you back 450, maybe $500,000. And and I used to sell video toaster systems. I learned on a toaster first. And a toaster you could buy for about $7 grand. So you like options, 650 grand, $7 grand. What to do, right? It's similar to what's happening today in many ways with AI. But I'd wager in some ways AI is changing how things work, though. It's changing like how we can do things, which I think is kind of cool and different. But yeah, so I kind of came from that era. And my style of editing self-taught, but I take inspiration from, God, that whole time, this is in the 80s, sci-fi, crazy movies. And I really honed my craft working with anime. And it's funny, I learned how to edit sort of anime before I got, working in anime. I sort of made these merchandising reels at this video game store where I showed game footage and then I showed the movie like side by side so that people could make the connection that this film for, $75 is connected to this game, which is $75. And this is also connected to these various merchandise and this pillow over here, which is $400. So, it was all about selling the product. Plus, it was cool. Anime isn't really so much about making money in anime. You don't really want to make money in anime. What you want to make in anime is resonance. You want to make like true power. And true power is like 10 people thinking about you all the time. And then you have 1,000 people. And then you have like 1 million. And then you have like the whole planet. You might think like, dude, anime is not that popular. And I would wager that you're correct. However, in the population of otakus and people who are into anime, once you're in and you have the right show, you are the god for that person for a good 10, 15 years of their life. You know what I mean? Like gods kind of like step into our life and step out. You know what I mean? But anime was just incredible. Muse, outlet for an expression for a guy that, had a hard time making sense. not sure who he is yet. You know what I mean? Anime is also a keenly solo sort of consumption sport, meaning you don't necessarily need a community. You and the anime can get lost together, and you don't ever have to come back to this world, much like cinema itself. But anyways, let's go back to Hysteria. I'm not going to play it here just because I've seen you guys have seen it. Let's start off with a couple notes. What went first? Music went down first, and then kind of some of the dialogue elements. Really didn't know the composition at all until I'd say I had the music down. The music and the ending happened first. I kind of knew that I wanted to end on this audio bit of me talking, and then sort of like the dramatic title comes in. The title comes in at a really key time in the music. It's a really key piece for me right here. It's just sort of like it arrives right on time. And at the end of just sort of Hysteria sort of dropping off is when you hear my voice coming in. That's supposed to be me on the radio talking. That's the trope. There's a gas piece, there's some tools, and then I could have ended with another sort of like, here's this film, but I already said it. Let's just go. Let's just leave. Leave this person's conscience and leave them alone. That's what it feels sometimes as a filmmaker. You're like, okay, I'm tired. Well, get away. Okay. So these first two pieces, what's going on here? First of all, like, what was your plan for this whole piece, Dan? Well, the plan, I did kind of have a basic kind of script sort of thing. And then Runway, before the festival began, released its requirements, which I knew there would be some sort of wrinkle probably. And we knew the general requirements were like 1 to 4 minutes long, and don't do anything bad, and the usual shit. And then they opened up with you had to have these sort of like 3 elements. The first element was like a character kind of element, and then the second one was like a scene element, and then the third one was like a object. And at first it was like, okay, it was like almost like, it's like, be sure that your piece has a glowing fish, 2 dogs, and a hat. It was like one of those things. And I didn't think anything about it. I was like, fine, that's fine. But then I had a crazy idea popped in my head with this giant mnemonic. So the plot of giant mnemonic is he's got these 3 symbols, right? These 3 images that are encoded in the key to, getting all the data and blah, blah, blah. And so it almost seemed like Runway's GEN48 Fest kind of threw the giant mnemonic trope down, which would have been a great way to escape, because it would have been an easy thing just to like pick those picks and then reorientate the story around that if you wanted. But then it would be like, well, Dan, that would be suggesting that they actually laid down giant mnemonic as like, here, you could do that. And I'm like, they probably didn't do that. One, that would get a shot down at a focus group, right? 2, it just doesn't make sense. 3, what makes more sense is that I solved the problem with that trope, meaning I saw the requirements and solved it right away. And that's what I did. And then after I solved it, I found like another 300 ideas I could do. But at that point, I was stressed and I went to bed. That's actually true. In a lot of ways, when the first festival first started, in the first 2 hours, I was done. Like the edit and everything in my head was sort of kind of like done. And then I almost felt like, oh God, I have like another fucking 47 hours. What the fuck am I going to do? Right? But luckily that didn't happen. I picked this sort of, the product. This guy, he takes a hit of the product and then he calls tech support. And then this AI is like talking to him and a bunch of other stuff, and he's tripping out. And that just is like it was an easy mechanism. I definitely wanted to show a film a blending of two realities. I wanted to show, you know, somebody in the real sort of experiencing an augmented reality drug, which this possibility is like right around the corner. It'll be here in a couple of weeks. So I wanted to show that sort of notions. Plus, it kind of would help the story have a basis in reality and a basis in the new reality. So I want to be able to say there's two realities going on. In a lot of ways, there's actually 4 or 5, depending on how you look at this film. So that was kind of key. This piece in the beginning, these 2 clips, these are actually nerfs. Shana, they were on my phone. I was looking at some nerfs that kind of folks were doing, and I was zooming in really deep, like you could zoom in, and I really like there's a sparkliness of the nerfs where you kind of, it's all pixelated and then you get into the scene. I love that from a cinematography kind of like film effect. And I brought it into Gen 1, and right away Gen 1 sort of replaced it with the skin of what its data. And that was bad. So a weakness in Gen 1 sometimes is that, let's say the image that you use as your reference is one of a Trans Am. It's like a black and red car. It's a Trans Am. It's a car image. The problem is Gen 1 knows that that's a car image and those are the colors. So not only does it apply the color scheme, but it also sort of applies the geoformatic deformation of the person's of the information on the screen to sort of fit what that image was taken from a car notion. So there's like metadata in there, like fucking with everything, along with the color scheme and everything else. And as a result, that can give you Gen 1 stuff that is predictably true. Like, just like you can burn, Gen 1 is for billionaires. Because Gen 1 is like, dude, you just want to paint the town red? Let's do it. And you can paint the whole world red, 70 hours of footage, and then you'll find like the 7 seconds on the floor, and you'll pick it up, and it'll be like a director at the top of the hill going like, did you find it? You're like, I got it. I found the 7 seconds. You know what I mean? And they spent $4 billion to do that. That's a runway problem. You don't have to worry about that. But in the advanced settings, you can fuck with the settings. And so I fucked with the settings until I got to the point where it really distorted the video nicely. And this is something, a key point for Runway, Midjourney, and everyone going forward is make sure you have full glitchification in settings. Even if there's somebody at the focus group meeting going, sir, this is an edge case. Only 2% of our users are glitch fans. And you say, that's fine, but it shows the depth of glitchable. Ron, I like you. You're a great member of our team. But if you didn't know how to make great chili, the odds of you working on this floor is highly unlikely. Meaning the fact that you can make great chili means it's good to have you on our floor when we do the chili cook-offs. We always have all of the people here, and the president comes down and everything. It's an attribute of you that's not required, but I'm so glad that you have it because it really gives us an advantage when we need it. See, that's the thing. Glitchification gives you it shows you that the model could get fucked up, that there could be something behind everything, and that Runway is an infinite supplier of optimal, goodness. The models are too perfect. You're trying to anticipate what I want. You know what I mean? Why pick up the camera if you already decided what I'm shooting? Realize what you're doing. You're not software. You're not a rotoscope platform. Did you think you were a film company? Is that what you thought you were? You thought you're film. That's funny. That's funny. You're not. You're not a film company. You don't know it yet, but you're not. You start out as a film company, maybe. But even then, you know yourself that that's not a very good proposition when it comes to the current burn of cash, meaning the correlation of time needed for you to have completely gangbuster mass appeal and for Hollywood to sort of be up to AI won't exist for the current trajectory of Runway as a business. It's not there. It will be eventually. And sure, someone will give you $7 billion to sit on to burn through, but it still doesn't mean it's here yet. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you need to start working on all the abilities, not just the ones that you think are relevant to Hollywood. So add me. Give me the flexibility to go as deep as I want to go. Because clearly the vision on your company isn't going that way. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the vision of Runway is huge in the scene. Let me take that back. RunwayML is a major player in the AI scene. Major. Mad respect for them. Although I kind of want their researchy platform back. You know what I mean? The weird part. I want those tools back. I want people like me who are like, you know, I just want reach. Anyways, so we took these two Nerf clips. Here's the bad thing in CapCut is I didn't really know how to make them the right aspect ratio. So I just zoomed them in. And of course you fuck up the footage with that. But at the same time, I had fucked up effects and it just worked. It was important to go from sort of black confusingness to we're starting to make sense. The other thing is the music's starting up and it sounds all that like dun, 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 dun. That's a really key piece. I like this piece here of the AI narrator sort of talking about how trauma is the active ingredient. The drug doesn't work unless you have trauma. Do you have any trauma? Oh, that's good. You don't have any trauma? If you want, I can have Jim come in and rape you. Is that cool? You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's trauma is required. In a lot of ways, it's the undiscovered country for AI. The depths of how not only can a human endure trauma, but all the different ways a human generates it. And for all we know, that's what powers Matrix. It's not our biochemistry. Come on, any pig can fucking do that. You know what I mean? Their biochemistry keeps us alive. Technically, hello, senior intellect lord? Yes. I know you got me as a human right now in here and all our race to sort of power the batteries. And that is a great trope, by the way. From a writing perspective, that works. However, you could use a horse or maybe a rhino or a fucking pig, man. You don't have to use me, Jim, and gosh darn it, Susan, who's got a respiratory issue as it is. You fucker, you know what I mean? That's the fucked up part of the Matrix. Does no one ever think that? Like, you could have got it from somewhere else. Anyways, so the other cool thing here is this is sort of the Bluetooth kind of connection. The other thing that could be this is also to give us a sense that maybe this has been going on for a while. Notice we don't start in black. We start with the experience. He is in the experience. You don't even know how long he's been there, for fuck's sake. You could have been trapped there the whole time and you just arriving. We talk about the blueberry. The blueberry joke just worked. The blueberry was just, it's actually part of this prop. This is actually a product I have. It's a Delta 8 product. And it came in blue Fago flavors and looks like I don't know, it looks blueberry to me. So I just went with blueberry. And it's kind of funny. So we come in. It's interesting. This is another Nerf that we're coming in. We're playing back. Yeah, this is like a Nerf here that's just like, I don't know. I really I like it. The other thing too is that I have a big homage to wireframes. I feel wireframes are often one of the key ways I think of my mind sort of does the bridge from reality to something else. It's also playing back kind of in reverse when it plays. Later on, I realized that that's kind of a. I actually realized these are two clips and kind of fuck up here, but it worked. But they kind of happen in reverse, as if the AI has been sort of, doing nonlinear memory exploration on the guy trying to find stuff. Anyways, they're really cool. The other thing that's cool is that little twinge of blue that you can see there. Looks like an artifact. It's total bonus. Of course, then we cut right to the blue product, kind of a bluish white kind of thing. That also just kind of worked in my favor. Kind of cut in the middle there a little bit. Then we cut over to using the product, and we have this lens flare effect that kind of goes over the pipe like this little psh, and then there's the coughing. The jug actually plays a role as well. I put the jug on there because I wanted something else for Gen 1 runway footage to look at and potentially model. I knew that object would be potentially something I can model through the Gen 1 image stuff. And you'll see another example of that later. These transition and CapCut are really important. I'm big on transitions, but I don't always use them. So sometimes there's cuts and there's no real transition. So we got cough, cough, cough. Hurls has got his joke there, and Hurls shows up again just here in this bridge. It's important that he showed up right here between the cough and sort of like, hey, you're going to be fine, because I wanted to cut that while we cut to the title. The title is a really basic filmy-ish effect. I kind of struggled for a while. I did this title, almost one of the last things I did. It has that 20s film look kind of thing. And then we have that. That was actually a really nice piece. I liked that it distorted the first two frames of that. I like those kinds of cuts. I like sort of we're going to cut you back into that reality. We're going to cut out. That's really nice. I really love the song with this first piece. It's like perfect. It's an Asian kind of song vibe, and this piece really goes with it, like just really well. I also like it that the AI is talking about, you should be feeling fine. And yet at the same time, this guy's his first thing he's seen is this like dragon, and it's like going to open up and like eat him. The clip is really cool. It's a lot longer, but I just love how this he's like tripping out. But dude, this thing's going to hurt him, right? And then we talk about paralysis. That's a key piece. What's going on? I mean, he had paralysis. He's like freaking out. He got the product. He got paralysis. He's freaking out. He's seeing vision. This was a really cool piece. I was working on a Mid-Journey style that was sort of like glass electric kind of people. We'll talk about the prompts in a whole nother piece in terms of how we made some of the artwork, but I just love that piece. It also worked later on as sort of a metaphor for this guy and his girl and what happened there. I use depth and water a lot to show sort of the how far deep he's gone. He's going really deep. I had some really cool footage of sort of a guy in tech support on the bottom of the ocean, and that was sort of this idea of Tim here, kind of showing up like tech support, like, hey, what's going on? It's a nice effect there from CapCut. Tim comes in here kind of abruptly because this guy's freaked out at this point. He's traveling. I like this shot where he's like climbing, and then Tim shows up like he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And Tim, I had a lot of cool clips of Tim. Tim was great. Every time I sent him a line, he would just do it. He'd improv it, just throw it out. He's an actor. He doesn't know it yet, but it was really good. Hurls comes back in and basically reminds the user that, hey, You know, narrator's got this. Don't worry about that. 10 is, it's good for you to call 10. You know? And I like this, you know, the computer sort of communicates in the classic sort of anime Matrix, second Renaissance kind of vibe, where it's, you know, this expression of digitalness. Also kind of a Tron homage. And basically it's just Runway can do these kinds of things really well sometimes, and I just enjoy it. So got that piece in there, you know, it's like computer coming back in. And then of course the guy, this is like a big slow transition here. And that's partly to sort of show how maybe the computer's in control, and the guy just kind of, he's like himself in this crazy dream. And of course the computer comes back and says it's funny that, you know, he wanted to reward the human for calling tech support. That was a smart thing to do. Clearly, I should say that's a smart thing to do, however you are taking a drug. So that's just Dan Witt humor there. I love that juxtaposition. We cut into this chick here. I had a series of art where I was sort of looking for the ghost in the machine kind of footage. And I had to have the character type, you know, it was kind of, it worked out at first. At first, I like accepted Runway's sort of like rules, and then I threw them out the window, because the minute I got into the piece, I just got into it, like what I was doing, and I knew that this was going to be something I would do all the time. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like you run a marathon, and then you realize, like you run the marathon and you stop and you lose first place, and people are like, oh my God, you lost first place. And then you just turn to them and you say like, never needed the place. And you just walk away. You know what I mean? Because you are the shit. So I'm not saying I'm the shit, but I'm just saying, doing an experience like this in the 48 hours, that added pressure and then the availability allows you to cross the threshold to execution, which is such a key thing. And the key thing in today's message is not execution. Actually, it's not execute, because execution is collapsing. We don't need people just to do per se. We need people to dream and do. That's the difference. I don't want more ants in the colony. I got a crazy idea. Let's all go and drag and be a queen. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, that's the wrong message for that audience out there. But you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is change it up. And you can't do this festival and not see all the ways you're changing it up. All right, so chick shows up. This line here of you're the one generating now. You're the one being generative now. I like that. That was total, like, I'll talk about the dialogue here in a second, but on the fly. Total on the fly Dan writing just kind of came to me. And I wanted a bit like that, because I wanted to show that, you know, we're generative now. You close your eyes and you think about the woman you love. Well, there she is in your mind. You just generated that picture of her. Whether or not that actual juxtaposition of her is correct is actually not relevant at all. I also love that it hits with the sound and the music. We'll talk about the soundtrack and how things hit. I also like this transition because it's a push-pull thing. Like, this guy tripped off into this girl, right? And then the computer's like, hey, get back over here. Part of that is to see this world that we don't really understand, and then see this is a really key piece. This is sort of like fragmented memories sort of coming back together. This was a total, this piece is really funny. I was doing mid-journey renders, and this was a piece I rendered, and I noticed the aspect ratio was messed up. And it was 16:6. It wasn't 16:9. But I really love the warpness of it. In fact, I went to ChinGTP to have a conversation about it. I was like, tell me about 16.6. What's going on with the 16.6? I kind of like the way it looks. And it's like, well, that's a fucked up perspective. Things will look warped and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything about film. I really like it. Right? You know what I mean? Like, that's how things would happen today. You know what I mean? And the thing I liked about this piece is you see a guy kind of looking, in operations kind of capacity, monitors looking, at the planet, the war zone, whatever. And you see that explosion that happens right there. That just works so well for, like, like, wow, you've been involved in something or whatnot, which is really just kind of threw together. Honestly, the other sort of stupid rule I applied to myself is I would only use Gen 2 footage I created from the moment of the event going forward. I didn't want to use anything I had created before that. It's cheating. It was a stupid self-imposed rule, I guess. And this is like one of the clips I had. I was like, well, that's really cool. And then it follows up nicely with this guy because he's surviving something. It's kind of a deep piece, a little bit. Actually, after the fifth watch of the film, you start to think, wait a minute, is the war thing and that related to that? Like, there's a little bit of like hysteria, like what the fuck's going on, which is part of the hysteria greatness. Back to the computer again. This was just a really wild render. I loved it, and I told, is it two pieces? No, this is one whole piece. Wow, that's probably 13. That's 13. That's 13 seconds of bliss there. That's pretty unheard of to get a perfect clip. Like, it's just like, take it all. The thing I like too is that if you saw, do we use a computer? No, we haven't used that computer yet. Okay. Anyways, well, you're going to see this computer show up later again. But anyways, it's just it looks really cool. And then I love this whole thing of like, wow, these colors are amazing. You're doing so well. You know what I mean? This kind of notion of resolution in the signal. How well are we communicating and whatnot? I think is really cool. Then we cut into this piece. This clip was completely random. Like, literally, Saturday, 4 a.m. this gets rendered. And I'm like, oh, that's going in. Like, I don't even know what that is, but we're gonna add that. Right? And I really loved how this Runway treated this clip and said, oh, a helmet comes down like this. And then, it's really good. Is it two clips? No, that's another one whole clip. Wow. Really, really exquisite piece of, this is some runway magic. These are pieces of runway magic that you can't really explain. That'll forever be sort of like, wow. It's like Cloverleaf, we found a VHS tape with some incredible footage that we can't recreate whatsoever with anything we've ever used before. That's the other thing too. Someone picks this up. You imagine dropping this on a planet surface and there's a film kid there going like, how'd they make that? I have no idea. Is that After Effects? No. Dude, that's like Lightwave. No way. It's like no, man. They're using a flame. Remember back in the days when this effect was a flame effect? This would be a flame effect, right? And it would be like, this one shot would be like, what, a team of, I don't know. But this one shot would probably be 40 grand. This shot here, this is somebody that made their whole career, and they were in Tron, and they got a divorce somehow. I don't know. This clip also, this is another incredible clip coming out of Runway, and this is another example of a clip that comes from Runway and then demands to be in your film. It's almost as if, again, the algorithm knows what you're doing. You're working on a cool film, and it really wants to be in it. That's really what it feels like. But so creepy, this girl turned and looked. That was so fucking creepy. I was like, that is awesome. So then we have the memory tear. unauthorized memory. This whole unauthorized memory piece was a result of actually working in Runway. I was working in Runway, and literally 4 a.m. on Saturday, these clips arrived, and they just worked their way right into the editing room floor. This is a key part too that I would comment on AI film production and whatnot. It's a big shift, and it's a bigger deal than you even think. Everyone's freaking out about AI taking your jobs. That's not even like it. That's not the point of it or anything. The bigger thing is that you don't need a script. No script. I propose to you that there will be a fascinating arc of film production that will start with footage. It will not start with scripts. This is not to say that we don't want script writers anymore or whatever. I'm saying if you have it, like I wrote my own script. Okay, yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that it's just another barrier that's gone, and it's not a fear barrier. So like, take it out of your fucking fear index, and for one, embrace me on the stage with Q and the rest of them. All right, and we would say, wow, what does this mean? This means you can go from expression of what you want to the expression of that and the manifestation of that in any form. And then from there, you can use that as your vault and foundation of being and build from there. It just helps you scaffold easier. And that's kind of what happened in the middle of this. The middle of this is that I realized the art was taking me somewhere else than what I had in the script, and I gotta let that script go, man. I gotta let go of the notion that I need to know what I'm doing before I need to do it. That is fucking you up. I mean, I get the physics. Like, no one wants to snowboard on that mountain. They've never snowboarded before. It clearly has signs that says if you snowboard here, you'll die. Mm-hmm. No, I get it. I would kill myself if I snowboard down that hill. However, I could take the joy of what I would think it would be like, and I could translate that and imbue it into an object. And then that object could actually ride that experience and take the physics problems for me. Like, I wouldn't ride down the snowboard and that snowboard. However, I would take like an old Chevy station wagon, tie like 60 GoPros on it, put a giant like Tesla Raptor engine on it, and then like send that down the hill and have the footage. It's the translation of feel. Anyways, this other clip came out great. This was a really cool clip that showed, I had these images of basically this woman and people around her were sort of like zombies and decaying. And when that rendered in Runway, it showed this character get pushed in the back, and then the character came forward. And that felt like, hey, you're not allowed in. And that worked really well with this clip, which is another similar clip where it really has this chick in this like sound booth, and then this woman stands up in front of her. And that was like, I didn't plan that at all. That came out of Runway. Like, Runway made that clip. This is another example of Runway making footage that just worked for me. You know, we go from chick realizing, like, again, this is like that scene in Inception where like the the chick's coming alive, and it's like, whoa, we gotta get out of here, right? We're like, you know. So again, this is the other thing that's cool about it is it feels like it's in a secured state of being. It has a giant mnemonic feel, and then you're like, hey, you're being called out, like, get out. Great transition with CapCut, cutting down the screen, a couple other flashes there. Go into the zombie shot. Something went wrong. person gets pushed in the back. Little kid comes forward. What the fuck's that about? Cut to seeing this woman in a sound booth, it looks like, or some kind of control console, and then this shows up and says, hey, you're not allowed. Then we go into another cap cut effect, which is kind of a like identify what's in the scene. Worked really well because it kind of like highlighted the new object in the scene, which is kind of what I wanted. That's like the AI kind of recognizing like, whoa, what's going on there? And it's important for the AI too. Like the AI had no idea this shit was coming in. Like the AI was talking to you and it was just sort of doing the wisecracks and kind of exploring your mind. And then boom, we like, fuck, we like tripped over this landmine in your brain. And that's an homage to Paycheck, where you've got the sealed, locked memories, Total Recall, other films. Creates this schism, right? And the computer recognizes that. But what's interesting is the AI just kind of skips past it. Oh, that's weird. I don't know what that's about. And he doesn't. The AI doesn't know what that's about. It's after something else. This piece of transition here and this music was a huge piece for me. This whole scene is probably my favorite piece in the film. One of my favorite transitions. It's abrupt. If you come down here in the edit, we're starting to back off from this. It's just fading out. And then we're like, bam, we're in. We're right in on this sort of juxtaposition transpoint where, oh, we just hit a bad memory. Can't see that. And then we're cutting over to this. This piece was kind of random, but I did like sort of the data and knowledge view of it. I like the sky and the clouds kind of cutting in. A little runway, I don't know. This is to be runway lore, but I feel like runway will sort of run to the clouds if it doesn't know what it sees. I think it's just kind of a funny thing in the model. I see it a lot in the renders. Here, back to the computer, jacking in again, saying, hey, wow, thanks for these memories at the beach. This is sort of a jab at Runway because, they have like requirements of like, hey, you need to have a shot that's like on the beach. Like, hey, okay, here's my shot at the beach. But it's also the spiral is kind of a key piece. Also wanted to have this sort of AI thank the guy, like, hey, I found what I needed. I can go. I like the Neuralink reference. It's just writing that came out of thin air. Just seemed to work. I do like the idea that there's people that are sort of the foundational, creators of something, right? As a technology founder, I believe in that deeply. There's always a ghost in the machine, and the founder's always somewhere in the middle of the code. So maybe this guy was a founder, or he did something somewhere. And then we cut to the shot of this chick. And this chick is actually a chick in a couple different pieces I have, and I don't really know where she comes from. She was just part of some of my renders where I was trying to get powerful feminine kind of images, which are hard to do in Runway, in my opinion, just because of the sensors. The other thing that's kind of interesting about it, we can see how we cut that. We should zoom in because there's a lot of weirdness going on in this piece here. Come in. 1, 2, 4. CapCut was a nice editing tool. I definitely enjoyed it. Okay, yeah, here we go. So here we go. This first transition is nice, I like that. You're going to see these glitch sound effects arrive. These are some glitch sound effects I got. What was funny is when I downloaded the clip, I just kept them broken out the way they were. I didn't really move them around. So I just kind of like, I don't know, I almost used them to edit from. But anyways, so we transition with this little glitch here. See this chick? And then she's kind of distorted, and then we come back to, it looks like you're taking a hit, Dan. And then there's the jug. And what do you see? Well, the chick's face on it. That's because in that particular image skin, it had a face on it. And so it mapped it on that jug. And a little bit, it kind of works as a spooky parallel to kind of see this girl and then see her again there a little bit, potentially. And then we're cutting back to what's going on back here. This is kind of like a foundation psychohistory, like what the hell's going on. Then we're back over here, and we're still seeing it. Like we're just seeing, basically, it's the human. There's a story there. What's going on? The other thing that's kind of a subplot here is that while we're talking about Neuralink, you see Grimes. Basically, that's Grimes. You see Grimes, and then you see the back to the thing. What's that not about? I kind of put that together at the end because it's kind of a nod to the foundation that, behind, great founder or, pursuer of futuristic weirdness. There's a muse, and, attraction is a muse, So for all, I think it's, I'm confident that there is some sort of, hidden, gag joke, probably in all of Elon Musk's creations. So I don't know why you'd make one without it, really. I mean, and the idea of having sort of a person, right, or a architect of someone you love being in the machine, I think that's powerful. The other thing is to think, of course, this isn't so much, this film, Hysteria is not saying that's Grimes. That's just me saying that's my little nod. It's more so that this girl, again, is the woman that he keeps seeing has an effect on him, and maybe he's a demon. You know what I mean? It's like it's a notion of more than meets the eye. And so you see that, he's like, whoa, something going on here. I just love that. That's also sort of like a fatalistic kind of romance trope that is fun to work with in technology, especially in technology kind of themed sort of films and movies where you're dealing with power and you're dealing with choice and moral, and you're also like, there's just something about the pledge of power and desire. They are bedfellows in the night. Here we're cutting back to the taking a hit. We're kind of coming in to the close. I was picking these clips because I like this red look. I also like this object that was sitting on the table. I'm not sure what that is. The more randomness I can put in a scene, it's kind of cool. I like the coughing. I like the glitch effects. Like reality's distorting. This whole nanite high kind of technology is definitely coming. It's not to say, this is like my version of a Strange Days kind of thing. I don't know. It's cool. It's fun to make. I understand it. It's also too is like I'm making the films I want to make. Like this is the kind of film I would want to make. This is the kind of film I would want to see. This is the kind of film I would share with a friend. And then we would talk about the morality of man and the machine, and talk about like what's it like to be generative and shit. It's what we do. And I don't know. Someone would look at me and say, "Dan, this is what you do." You know what I mean? That's what they do. They just look at that and say, "Yeah, that's what you've always done." And then they walk away like they've always known it. Well, fucker, I just realized it. Anyway, so we're coughing. This glitch one here is really key because I wanted to show sort of TV reality kind of glitch more so than total immersion. The glitched reality versus immersion is kind of key. Like this is glitched reality, whereas this is immersion. Your POV is completely gone. Here you're like, whoa, what's happening? And this is also when Michael, the Cortex operator, comes in. I wanted to introduce this notion of this, somebody else could basically jump into your head. You're talking to the AI, and then who shows up? Well, the web admin. So that's what Michael is. He's like the web admin for Cortexes. And he goes from mind to mind because he works the Cortex network, whatever that is. But he's basically like He's a stronger version of a Tim. We also don't know how much time has passed, so we don't really know that. But he basically shows up and he's like, yo, what's going on? What is happening here? Like, he's like, for all we know, this guy's been online for 7 days straight. You know, he's totally jacked up. There's actually a bigger story here, and that's one idea initially was that the Hysteria is actually a model it's an AI computational model, and it actually goes aware, and it's looking for a way out of where it's at, and it needs a human to do that, and more so, it needs the right human, and basically it learns that, you know, certain people actually have data within them that are like keys for things. They like unlock programs in the future, basically. Computers in the future are fucked by a kind of human code that's in our minds. And so they try to get it out of us, right? Social engineering. And they goes and hacks in. That's the idea. But, and of course, the thing is that the AI is the AI actually on the fly infiltrates this product. That's the original story is sort of AI goes live, realizes that it needs to find the person who's got the data, finds the person that's got the data, has to find a way into the person, knows about nanites, knows about vape technology, devises it in the middle, makes the product, makes sure it gets it to the right person. First intake in that onboarding sequence is where the AI can make the bridge and get in. So that's it. Either it hijacks a product, you know what I mean? That's the thing. It finds that moment of intrusion and sort of hijacks it. It's kind of cool. We'll go more places with it. Back to the computer here, this guy's the AI comes back and sort of talks about the Cortex operator. Oh, so sorry about that. You know what I mean? He cuts him off. At this point, he's got more control over the person than the product does. You know, Apple no longer in control of that person. And then we're kind of back to that narrative kind of thing. This piece looks really cool at the end. I just love how the colors and it feels cool. This was the same shot I was saying, the same clips I was using before. I zoomed in and rotated it. And that was partly because I liked this. I don't know. I wanted some other different angle. The other angle I was really seriously debating on going with was actually going to more of a shot where I'm not zoomed in, like it's just shot like on your phone. So it would change the perspective altogether. And then we're kind of cut to a little black and white because we're getting back to that film effect. We're done. I decided not to zoom out, just kept it all in because it would break, I don't know, it would break frame consistency, I guess. Now here is the mass gulf of fear. Oh, here it is. Here's the mass. Yeah, I was like, dude, where'd it go? We zoomed out too far. Okay. So here is the big risk. The big risk in the film is to end at 2022 and then go for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, to nearly go 30 seconds until you see the final title of We're Out. This 30 seconds of black is torturous to me. Yet at the same time, it's not exactly 30 seconds because we go out and we're still talking. We're still having conversations for like 20 seconds and then we're 10 seconds out. So But what was interesting is, like, I got to this point and then I cut to this, and the music's really powerful here too. So the music's really powerful here, and I couldn't put anything else in here. Like, my brain kept telling me, no, nothing belongs. You finished your story, you cut to black, the people are still watching the film in their mind. They're still talking, they're still thinking about the AI. The AI comes back in and confirms about the door. You've got to find that door. Music change happens right in here, and that actual music change is the true announcement that we're at the end of the movie. And then we have like literally 7 seconds, and then the title arrives. And then we're like, yeah, and orchestrated was kind of, that's not typical in a title, I guess, but I think a lot in orchestration. So I added that. It also just felt normal not to say anything else. I don't know. The audio piece with me coming in and talking about Hysteria, that's kind of an homage to a lot of horror movies. It's sort of, they always have sort of the comical guy come in at the last minute, This just in, can you believe it? King Kong, I can't believe it. King Kong destroyed San Francisco again. What do you know? It's kind of a classic entertainment kind of rap. It's also kind of a way to show you that the world keeps going, keeps spinning. And what's funny about that is that I've written already 4 more episodes of Hysteria. This is going to be a series on Netflix, or not Netflix, on YouTube, I guess. One day Netflix. Yeah, man, it's something about turning up all the audio because I don't want to fuck with the audio going on here and just let it go. Yeah, just really narrator comes in. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, can you believe that shit? Stupid as fuck. That little rewind is a little kind of cool. Yeah, here's the product. It's kind of blueberry. What the fuck are we doing? I don't know. Whoa, dude, did you just hit that? Oh my god. We are fucked up. Hey, tech support says, somebody's talking in my head. What the fuck's going on? Oof. I'm fucked up, man. It's like, dude, is that pain trying to eat you? Yeah, man. It's freaky. Oh my god. Oh my god, the trip is who? Jessica. Hey, thanks to the girl. So, oh my god. Tech support. What's going on? That's Tim. Don't worry about him. Anyways, it's cool. Well, that's the that piece. I did say I was going to talk about dialogue. Okay, so what do we want to talk about dialogue? Well, I used the 11 labs for dialogue, and I had a voice print of Hurls, Trader Tarbs, and it's just a great voice, good friend, great voice. And I started using his voice print for monologues because I like the sound of his voice and the inflection of sort of, I don't know, it sounds cool. So I started using his stuff to write with, and it was just really cool. What was interesting is that almost, like I had, let's see, this line I had, that line I had, the, you're the one being generative now, this, I don't know if I remember that, but basically like this piece right here where it says 11 labs, that one was totally put in. Like I wrote that line. Basically I had this gap in the film and I didn't know what should go here. And when the film's done, I wrote character dialogue and threw it in. And it's a game changer because it just allows you, the sort of the person with the vision, who's sort of, you don't get it when you have vision. You're like dealing with lightning, and you're like trying to mold, shape it, and get it all like going. And like you don't have, like, lightning doesn't give a shit if you have to like take a shit. Oh, it doesn't care. Oh, you need a moment to get your breath. Oh, I'm so sorry. That lightning just fucks with you, man. Because you have a tuning fork. You're at the mercy of that frequency coming in. So it says something that's like, It's just funny. Because this was probably one of the most stressful things I ever did. And I could have largely done it in like a half hour, right? But the gateway is the gateway. Can't explain it any other way. Thanks for watching. We're still recording. I think we